Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live Q&A. It's Fiona Lukeis here, and today is Friday, July 21st. I actually was just sitting here before I press the button that makes everything go live, and I thought, how did we get to Friday? I feel like it's still Monday. This week has been such a blur. I, I'm sitting here thinking, I feel like I was just here last 5 minutes ago. It's been a crazy week, but anyway, I hope that you've all had a good week wherever you are, and if you are just kind of tuning in, as always, say hi. Let me know where you're listening from, and if you have a question at all, post it in the comments below. I always love to hear from people. I do have some questions, and I'll bring them up in a second. But as always, I want to just check in and make sure that if you are live, that you have a question, that you get taken care of, because I really appreciate you showing up here, being live, engaging, interacting, all of those sorts of things. It's how we engage as a whole, because we are only as strong and healthy as the whole, right? So when everyone comes in and contributes to each other like this, which is what these lives are about, when people jump in, make comments, say hi, put themselves out there, it contributes to the whole, right? And as I've seen this week, and it's been a really interesting week this week in terms of, I've done a lot of hands-on, which I really love doing. It's one of my great loves. A lot of hands-on stuff where I'm really helping two people who are struggling to connect, and showing them where and how they can do that, and getting them together and doing that. So that there's been quite a bit of that go on for me this week, and I really, really enjoy that kind of stuff. And as I think I said this to my relatable students, a bit of tongue in cheek here, but if you can negotiate and get a couple to reconnect, I believe you can negotiate world peace. So I was saying that to everyone on Wednesday night's calls, like, man, you can do that well. You can negotiate anything, and I think you could negotiate world peace, because when two people are very stuck and frightened and there's no goodwill, and I believe things can turn around very quickly, and they do, and I've seen that this week. It's been a real joy. But when you're doing a lot of that, and you start to really see that, it's like, man, I reckon I could get out there and negotiate world peace out there somewhere. Anyway, I am being a bit tongue-in-cheek and facetious when I say that. All right. Hey, Leon, thanks for saying hi. Oh my goodness, it must be literally the middle of the night there. So thanks for jumping on, but because I know you're in the UK, it must be like 1 a.m. or something for you. So you mentioned something about emotional hurt. How do I get past my wife's anger and try to get to a place where we can talk? Well, I think that probably is in alignment with what I was just talking about. We've got to look for I think what happens in a lot of conversations with people is we're looking for the place where we can prove a point, rather than looking for where we can connect. Okay? We're looking for where can we prove a point, rather than where can we connect. Now, when you're really looking for a place to connect, it's not about proving, justifying, explaining, defending. It's the places where you can connect start to become quite obvious, and it shows up more and more and more. And you see it, oh, here's a place where I can connect. Now, if you're not looking for that, what tends to happen is you look for the place where you can prove your point. Oh, here it is right here. Or I'll just tell her, or I'll just justify, or I'll just explain why. And the minute we do that, and I was actually talking about this with one of my couples this morning. We were having a conversation, and I said, can you see right now you're in the same reality and you just went like this? And they went, yes, I can. And I said, do you want me to show you where that happened? Right? I'll show you the exact moment where that happened in your conversation. And as soon as I said it was there, they both went, you're right, that's where it happened. And I said, so what you want to be looking for when you're communicating, when you're talking, is the moment where that happens, where you go into your own realities, when you're connected and you go in your own realities. That's the place where you've got to stop. That's not the place to then explain, justify, prove a point, make sure they understand. That moment, that's the critical moment. And so you get better and better and better at seeing these, okay? And it becomes easier and easier and easier. It really, really does. And once you start doing that well, this is when people calm down. There is a sense of emotional connection, emotional trust, emotional safety, where people start putting their guards down and they start thinking about the we rather than the two me's. And as I was talking about this morning, what happens is this starts happening very naturally in terms of we get the thinking that's more we focused rather than me focused. It just automatically shows up. You don't have to go find it. You just find that people start thinking about how they can help the other person. Can they pick up something from the shops on the way home from work? How can they be, I guess, how can they be, how can they kind of be around more? How can they do something that helps the bigger picture? So these are the things that start naturally showing up in our thinking. When goodwill is high, we just get access to better thinking, healthier thinking, more we-focused thinking. And I really want to make that point because people can get really caught up in, oh, I'm not very good at X. I'm not good at emotional things. Oh, I'm an analytical thinker. Yes, we have habits of thinking, but that's not entirely true at all. And people often get caught up in that and then lose their way and don't see that things are actually a lot more easier and organic than we realize. Okay. Hey Roz, oh, it's 3:30 in the morning, Leon. Oh wow, that's super, either super late or super early, depending on whether you've gone to bed or not, right? Hey Roz, thanks for saying hi. And hi Nathan, hi. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to hear from you. I really appreciate it. Anybody else out there who's listening who wants to say hi, feel free to do so. Now, whilst that's going on, I'm just going to find the question for today, or questions. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry, my assistant has been out of the office most of the week, and it's tricky. All right, so here is one. Here's the first question. This is a big one, so let me just get my head around that. Hi, Benita. Hi. Welcome. Where are you listening from? Lovely to say hi. Anyone else out there who wants to say hi? Go for it. If you've got a question, post it in the comments below. I am live on YouTube and Facebook right now. Hi, Fiona. I've reached menopause and I notice it very much because I feel very angry and depressed at times, so big mood swings. I see now that when I thought my thoughts and feelings earlier were facts, is nothing to how I experience them now when they come like big waves out of the blue. It feels like I've completely flatlined going around with a ticking bomb in my hands that I want to throw at people. And I don't notice it until it has gone from a half day to 2 full days. And I can see that it's menopause that's playing havoc in my body. I've started to blame everyone and everything and everyone for everything. Plus, I can have extreme thoughts about not wanting to live anymore. Okay. So my question, how can I know when I'm in these feelings and thoughts that has become so much more extreme than ever, and see them for what they are? As you say all the time, you know when you shouldn't take a call or have a conversation with someone because you're not home in yourself. But I've had a few conversations about things in my life that have been very upsetting to me. And when I've been in my worst moments of menopause, that's being used against me from those people when I'm in a more neutral state again and I see things differently. How can I see that I'm not at home in myself when things become so invisible to me as I've experienced in the last 3 months? It feels so extreme. I feel like I'm a roller coaster teenager again who doesn't know what's happening. Sending you lots of love. Oh, boy. Okay. And I say, oh, boy, because, look, and I'm just going to quickly, oh, you're in Goulburn, Benita. Okay, welcome. And NM, what's NM USA mean? I don't know what NM stands for. If you could let me know, Nathan. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the abbreviations for what those means. Nebraska is NM Nebraska something? Oh, New Mexico. There you go. New Mexico. All right. See, that sounds really obvious when you say it, but I had no idea. Thank you for that. So if you've just tuned in, I've just had someone send me a question about navigating mood swings in menopause. And so I guess the very first thing that I want to say is menopause is huge for women, and it's not talked about enough. And people feel like they've been hit by a truck. It's just this thing that a lot of women go into completely unawares and unexpected, and people can have a different extreme reactions to that. So I just want to speak about that for 1 second. If you are going through menopause, it's really important that you make sure your hormones are balanced, because when there is a hormone imbalance, this contributes to things. So you want to make sure that you take care of that, so you set yourself up for success. So make sure that your hormones are balanced. Go and see someone who can help you with that. There's different ways to do that. It's obviously outside of my zone of genius, but you can go and see a naturopath and have your hormones balanced. Naturopaths are amazing for that kind of thing. You can get what's called a saliva test done, and they can really see what's going on with you hormonally. Blood tests don't necessarily show things up in the range that need to be looked at for a woman to understand these things. So saliva tests are a lot more accurate. And in terms of our hormone imbalances and what needs to be changed and looked at. And naturopaths are fantastic for that. You can obviously go and see your GP and go on HRT and get patches, hormone replacement therapy, and get patches and things like that. Again, I want to preface this by saying I'm now speaking outside of my area of expertise, but that's the first place that I'll be doing. If you're finding you're going through menopause and you're having really extreme mood swings and reactions, then you want to start to do that first, because again, it's about setting yourself up for success rather than saying there's something wrong with me. Why am I doing this? Why, unbalanced hormones can cause extreme mood swings, all right, and can play havoc with our body, with our sleep, with our core temperature, with our thinking, with our emotions on so many levels. Okay, so that's the very first thing. Please go and get that checked and make sure that your hormones are balanced. Now, I am going to answer the second question on the basis that your hormones are balanced. Okay, right? So just make sure you've got that distinction. I'm going to answer the next question on the basis that your hormones are balanced, right? Because that's giving you a baseline to work from. So we've always got to make sure that we've got a decent baseline here. There's so many things that perhaps we don't take into account, and then we rally against ourselves. So make sure that your baseline's there. Make sure your health is in a good place. I mean, your physical health. Okay, are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating healthily? Are you taking care of yourself? All right. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing that I want to say, Mick, thank you. Hi, Dr. Lukeis. Okay, I am definitely not a doctor. Okay, I really want to make that clear. I think the other thing is, if you're finding, and I think this is for anybody, and I think I may have had a bit of this conversation on last week's call, but this is still very, very, very important. The more comfortable you are in your own skin, the less impacted you are by people saying, oh, you've been really, your mood swings are out of control, or you've been really this, or you've been really that, right? When you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't take those things to heart, and then you don't then see them as these massive problem that you have. Does that make sense? This is so important, right? We've got to be really great about owning where we are. And when you're comfortable in your own skin, you get really great at owning where you are. Owning where you are means something like this. Let's just say you are someone who struggles with, I don't know, what's the word? Dealing with conflict. Okay. Maybe you're someone who doesn't deal with conflict well. Maybe you're someone who's in people pleaser mode. Hey, Lisa, I just saw there's a couple comments here I missed before. My apologies. Hi, Lisa, you're in Wellington. Welcome. Thank you. Jude, how do you trust yourself after relationship traumas to choose again to commit again? I can help you with that one, Jude. So I'll answer that next. Thank you for that question. You've got to be really good about owning where you are. Now, what does that mean? Everybody has frailties. It's human nature. Okay. And despite the best, despite what a lot of personal development programs will tell you and a lot of those things, your frailties don't tend to go anywhere. Meaning, for example, I'm not meaning you're stuck with them. I don't mean that at all. Don't hear that way. But if you're someone who has a tendency to get a little intense at times, right? You're just going to find when your thinking drops, when your mood tanks, that will be a frailty that tends to show up. a little more than somebody else's, right? It's not like it's this massive issue and problem, but just knowing that about yourself. Now, when I'm speaking about myself when I say that, I can get a little intense at times, and so when I'm tired or I'm in a low mood or whatever, that has a tendency to show up. Okay. And I've done lots and lots of things. I think I have a pretty healthy sense of awareness. I mean, there's always more to learn and grow, and there's no end to that. But I know that about myself. Okay, I know I have a tendency to go there at times. Now, I don't care. I'm not bothered by that. I don't see that as some deficiency of mine. I just understand that I can go there sometimes. So I'm quite comfortable about it. It doesn't mean that that gives me license to just do and say whatever I like, but I don't have it. I don't feel insecure about that. Right? I don't. I know I can get like that. So if my husband says to me, for example, babe, you're being a bit intense, because I don't have any insecurity around that. I don't have anything on it. I can turn around and go, I can check in with myself because I know where to look for the answer. And I can say, oh yeah, I can see that. You're right. And that's it. Sorry, babe. And we move on. See that? Because I am comfortable with where I am. I cannot tell you how important this is. It's so freeing as well when I don't feel like I have to explain and justify myself and prove myself and all of those things, right? It's the most freeing thing. I went through decades of my life feeling like I had to justify, explain, prove, and kind of defend myself, which just created a whole lot of mental load, created a lot of disconnect between my husband and I, and had me very defensive, right? And only made that frailty even more apparent, right? But because, again, I navigate myself so differently now. I have such a different relationship with things around myself. I don't really have anything on that. I can see that I go there sometimes, and I can see that that's what happens, and it's okay with me. So it means I'm a lot calmer about it. Because what I hear in this question, right, from this person is, how do I know, like what they're saying is, how can I stop these feelings and thoughts because they're so extreme? Because what happens is then I speak from that place and then people use it against me. See that? People use it against me when I'm in a calmer frame of mind. And so that's upsetting to you that people use it against you. The fact that you even say that. See, if I'm comfortable in my own skin and someone was to say to me, "Wow, Fiona, the last time we caught up, you were so full on, like you were just yelling and screaming and you were being really difficult." If I know that I have a tendency to do that at times, and do you know what I mean? I might say, "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. I do that at times, and you know, going through menopause at the moment, or I'm going through a thing. I'm going to go and get my hormones checked and see if they're balanced. But yeah, look, I'm sorry about that." Now, see how easy that is? End of conversation. When I'm insecure about that and I'm freaked out about it and I'm frightened, because most people are frightened of their experience, they're very insecure about their insecurities. They think there are these massive problems or deficits within themselves. And so then they go into prove it mode, defend it mode, justify mode, explain it mode, and everything just falls apart from that place. All right. So this is big. This is very important, right? So, I talk about those three areas of relationship: your relationship with you, with life, and with others. So now I'm talking about, this falls into your relationship with you category. Okay. If you have insecurities about your insecurities, you are always going to struggle with things like that. Okay. And you're going to feel like you have to eradicate it. You have to demolish it, break it down, manage it. And that's just exhausting. Right? It's totally exhausting. And it means that you don't have as much mental bandwidth, emotional bandwidth. So there's not enough of you on offer. See that? See, I'm going to come back to this example. I'm feeling insecure about my insecurities. Someone gives me some feedback. And because I'm so insecure about it, I get defensive. I either get defensive externally or I beat myself up internally. Oh my God, why am I doing that? What's the matter with me? I should stop doing that. My God, I've got to stop doing this. Oh God, you are just so useless. You're so hopeless. You're such an idiot. This is what people do, right? Now, whether I'm getting uptight out here and I'm going, how dare you? I'm not putting up with that. It's not my problem. It's yours, blah, blah, right? Whether I'm doing that or whether I'm doing it here, I have no emotional bandwidth. I am not connecting. I'm not present. I'm not listening. And I'm certainly not creating goodwill. I see this happening all the time with people. All the time. Now, When you are comfortable in your own skin, you own it. And it becomes easy. I go, yeah, you're right. And that wasn't great. I really think this hormonal thing's a bit, I'm a bit menopausal at the moment, or I'm going through menopause and man, my hormones are all over the place. I'm going to go see a naturopath next week or a doctor or whatever, and I'm going to get that looked at. See how that just changes the conversation. It's like you put a full stop after something. And there's not all that, what's the matter with me? Why are they doing that? I've got to stop doing this, right? And again, when we're overthinking and our mind's going a million miles an hour, there is nothing of us available. People can't feel you. People can't get a sense of you. So they don't know what to work with. And so then they go into their insecurities, right? They go into their insecurities and they go off into their own tangent. And I see this all the time, all the time. This is, I've got to say, I mean, some of you are going to find this a little bit arrogant, which is fair enough. I've got to say, that is one of the areas where I just instinctively can do that well. When I've got two people in their insecurities and I can see it, I know exactly where the point is, where the connection point is, and where to show it and go, bang, we connect right here. I can just see it. It's so obvious. But of course, you can't see it when you're caught up in all of your thinking and all of your upset and all of your whatever. Okay. This is why knowing how to navigate your thinking and understanding the way it works is so freeing, right? Because it just changes everything. That was what changed for me. I used to be this very intense, I can still be a bit intense. Okay. So I shouldn't say I used to be this very intense. Okay. I'm less intense. I'm still a little bit intense. But I used to be so defensive of that and so concerned about it and seeing it as such a deficit in myself that I needed to fix and manage and overcome and change. Now, because I don't relate to it that way, I don't have the same experience of it. And because I don't have the same experience of it, the people around me don't have the same experience of it. That's how it works. So what I'd be saying to this lovely lady who sent this question in, number one, go sort your hormones out, get the balance, do what you need to do. Number two, become more comfortable with where you are. Own it, honey. If you are being a bit extreme, so what? It's okay. You're allowed. You're human. You have frailties. It doesn't mean that you can go out being horrible to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But when you're less frightened of where you are, you will show up differently to those conversations and you won't have all of that emotional residue that you're experiencing. Okay. Hi, Gail. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Hi, Sheila. Thanks for saying hi from Toronto. I love this. I look down here and I can see, hey, Min, nice to see you, honey. I am well. I am well. Had root canal earlier in the week, which is my idea of hell, but I'm pretty good now. Thanks. You're welcome, Nathan. Own it. Yeah, I love it. Own it. Yes, that's right. It is possible to do that, guys. Truly. You don't have to eradicate your frailties. That's like, when you think about it, can you see that doesn't make sense? Right? Can you see that? That's like trying to say, I never want the wind to change direction. You know, we're human, we're fallible. The one thing that you can say is true of a human being, we are changing all the time. Our experience is changing all the time. The way we look at life changes all the time. We're in constant change and flux emotionally. Now, if you feel like you're scared to have emotional changes, if you feel like you having emotional changes is this big problematic thing, can you see how hard life's going to be for you? And then let's now take that into the relationship space. Can you see how hard that is? Right? Because what happens in our relationships, and this is why I love them so much, okay? How big do our emotions get in the relationship space? How big do they get? Right? Those things are ginormous, okay? You can get massive emotions and massive emotional changes in the relationship space. Now, if you're frightened of that, if you've got insecurities about your insecurities, if you've got insecurities about your emotions and how you experience them, can you see how much harder your relationships are going to be to navigate your way through? Right? You're not going to want to have those mood swings. You're going to find them exhausting, or you're going to not like it when someone else has it. And that just becomes really difficult for you to connect or for anyone to connect to you via. Let me know if this is making sense. Feel free to give me a little bit of feedback around that. Fiona, I don't know what you're talking about, or yes, that makes sense, or can you expand on that a little bit? Let me know. And in the meantime, I will come back and answer Jude's question. Okay. So, how do you trust yourself after relationship traumas to choose again to commit again? Now, without knowing much background behind your question, I guess your ability to trust yourself, okay, this is very important, has a lot to do with how comfortable you are in your own skin, your relationship with you, and your relationship with life. Very, very important. Can you see how I keep coming back to these three things over and over and over again? Because we are always in relationship with one of those things, generally all three of them at the same time, but one of them will be the sticking point for you. And that's the area that you need to look at. So for example, and I'm not saying this is the case with you, Jude, but if you feel, and I'm not even sure if you're male or female, Jude could be male or female, couldn't it? I'm not sure. But if you're someone who, let's say you've been in a difficult relationship, and let's say you've been in a relationship and they've been gaslighting you. All right, you feel like you haven't been heard, etc. And you're like, this is just the way people are. Most people just gaslight. That's just how people are. Now, that is your relationship with life needs some work, because you're now not trusting that there's anything more than that out there. Okay, so number one, you've got to make sure your relationship with you're comfortable in your own skin. You need to know, this is very, very, very important. These are all the things I talk about in Relatable. If anyone's going, but how do I do that? How do I honestly, we go through all of this in Relatable, all of it. I have these kinds of conversations all the time in lots of different ways and lots of different angles. Okay, we do them through our live calls. I create all the foundational understanding through the modules, and then we take everything to another level with explanations with the live calls and the engagement in that. Okay, it's fantastic. My students love it. So if you're someone sitting there going, how do I find out more about this? That's my signature program. That's where I teach this in much more depth. I'm doing my best in these lives, but I can't go to a certain level of depth around that, because you guys won't necessarily understand what I'm talking about, because you haven't gone through the modules. Okay, but I'm doing my best based on where we're at. So if you're not comfortable in your own skin, so if you don't know the difference between when you're in your ego and when you're tuned into wisdom, if you don't know where to look for the answer, if you don't know when your mind is clear and when it is not, you will find it hard to trust yourself. Okay, you'll find yourself bouncing. Okay, do you know what I mean? You bounce from, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. Oh, I think this, I think that. I'm not sure about this, and you bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce. Right now, when you know how to navigate your thinking differently, when you know when you're in your ego mind, when you know when you're tuned into wisdom, when you're when your mind is clear, when you know and you start to know this about yourself, and through the process of knowing this about yourself, you become extremely comfortable in your own skin. All right. Then number one, you can start to trust in your capacity to make good choices. All right. Or to know when you're in a situation that's not good for you. Now, number two, there is your faith and trust in life. Do you trust that things will work out? Okay. Do you know how to hand things over when life gets challenging? Or do you go down there and burrow down and spin your wheels? All right. Ride a bike that's not going anywhere. So, how well do you relate to all of those things? This is very, very, very important, because that's where the answer to that question lies. If you think the world is full of, I don't know, horrible people, or people only get what they want, or you can't trust women, or you can't trust men, or people don't really show you their true colors. If you've got all of that going on, then you really need to re-examine your relationship with life, because that's going to color and flavor everything, and it's going to make it harder for you to see the forest for the trees. All right. So, absolutely, when we go into a relationship, and I think this is one of the things that we all have to come to terms with. We are taking a risk. We're taking a risk with our emotions and our heart and our feelings. We absolutely are, but we do it again and again and again. Why? Because the benefit, what's on the other side of that, far outweighs all of that stuff, doesn't it? It far outweighs it. That feeling of connection with someone, there's nothing like it. We love it. We want it, right? That feeling of partnership, the butterflies that you have in your stomach, the feeling of attraction, we all want that. We all love that feeling, right? And so again, that's why we put ourselves out there again, because we want that experience. We want to have that feeling. And so we're willing to give it another go. So even though we've had past traumas and past difficulties, but it's also how we learn and grow, and it's how we discover what we're really made of. Okay. It's how we get a stronger sense of self. It's how we expand. Again, this is why I see relationships, it's nothing like them in terms of richness of experience, in terms of growth for you, in terms of connection, in terms of all of it. It's nothing like it. And so I don't understand. This is the thing that I also find fascinating, why we don't make this more of an absolute must that we need to be good at this stuff, right? Why this is not one of those non-negotiables where it's like, I've got to make sure I'm good at this stuff, because this is at the heart and soul of everything in life. My relationship with me, with life, with others, it's the heart and soul of everything. I've got to be good at relationships. I've got to be good at relating. I just got to, and anyone can be, right? But why it's the one area. So it's something that fascinates me. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's something that fascinates me, because we will go and, outsource getting the car serviced by a mechanic. We will go to a personal trainer for our fitness, a nutritionist. If we want to get our eating habits sorted out, we'll go to a hairdresser to get our hair done. We'll go to those experts. But so many people will say, no, I'm going to work it out myself. You got to understand, you are your own biggest blind spot, just like I was my own biggest blind spot. It's challenging to work these things out on your own, because you can't see you. Okay. And when you can't see you, you can't choose something else. And so you keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's fascinating when you see it. The lovely thing about when you learn this stuff is you get this incredible sense of self-awareness. You see you in a different way. You see you in a way that others see you. And you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Now I know why this is happening. Now I understand that. Now, the more deeply you understand that, what have you got? Choice. What have you got? A sense of empowerment. What have you got? A pathway forward, right? Hey, Stuart, thanks for saying that. This absolutely makes sense, Fiona. Great information. Thank you. You're very welcome. Sheila, relatable program will really help with understanding your thinking, your reactivity, your wounds, and your care for yourself. Oh, thanks, Sheila. And yeah, that's really beautifully said. It's very true. Really, really does. Benita, my anger comes from being hurt over and over by the closest people in my life who I've only ever loved and trusted. Okay. I'm really sorry, honey, that you've had that experience. Okay. I'm really sorry. And all I'm going to say is, if you are having an experience where the same thing is happening over and over and over again, right? What do you think the message is there? I'm curious, and I'd love to ask you guys on the live. If you're an experience, and think about any experience where the same thing's happening over and over again, okay? What do you think the message might be for you? Because there is a message for you. It's just the way things work. Anyone want to have a guess? That's true, Nathan. It's Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. Yes, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But a lot of people don't realize that they're doing the same thing over and over again. It looks like they're in the same situation again and again. Okay. So the message is you're not evolving. Yeah, could be. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks, Angela. Yeah. What else? Jane. Hey, Jane. Hi. My goodness, I haven't heard from you for ages. Hi, Fiona. Jane from Sydney. I've been in your relatable program for a while now. I haven't caught up live, but I've been catching up on recordings. I love your teachings. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome, Jane. You're very, very welcome. Thanks for that comment. I really appreciate it, honey. Yeah, so no, that's not it, honey. That's not the message, right? And I really appreciate you saying that, Benita. I'm not worth it. And I can see why you would think that. I absolutely would, right? I totally and utterly can see why. But here's something. This is very important. And I really appreciate you making that comment, honey. I really, really, really do. It takes a lot of courage. And I really, really appreciate it because there will be people listening to this live who are in the exact same boat as you. Okay. It looks like when you don't know where to look for the answer, that's what that means. If the people closest to me hurt me over and over again, that must mean I'm not worth it. I can totally see why that connection would happen. Okay. Totally see it. Yep. I get it. Now, here's the problem with that. The minute you believe that that's true, you will keep doing the same thing again and again and again. Does that make sense what I just said? Because it's very, very important. The minute you make that connection, oh, if someone doesn't love me, that must be because I'm not worth it. There's all the evidence because the people I love and trust the most in the world hurt me, right? And I can see why you would make that connection. But the minute you see that as true, you will now, that will happen more and more and more and more. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It makes sense to you, Benita? It does? Okay, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay. This might be triggering for some people out there. I'm not saying it's your fault when I'm saying this. Please don't hear this. This in terms of paradigms of fault and blame. That's not the paradigm I'm even speaking to right now. So if you think that's what you're hearing, put that down because it's not what I'm saying, okay? But you've got to understand where your lessons are in life. Have to. So if you've been in a situation where people are hurting you, people that you love and trust, and it's happening again and again, and your link to that is, oh, I'm not worth it. And here's the evidence because they did this and they did this and nobody respects my boundaries and nobody does this and everybody does this, boom, 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 that must be true. You will now energetically, that's what you're putting out because you're now a match for that, right? You have to understand, this is hard for people to hear, all right? And I say this as someone who fled a domestic violent relationship many, many years ago. So I don't say this as someone who's not been in that situation. But one of my hardest lessons when I came out of that relationship, and that was a very tough thing. I had to go in, I had to, go to a safe place, leave, like all of it was very, very full on. Okay. One of the hardest things I had to see around that and learn for myself was I was in that situation because I was a match for it. I'm not saying it was my fault. Absolutely, it's not my fault that that person treated me that way, but I was a match for that. And that was the hard truth I had to face about myself. That would never, ever happen to me now. And I know that with full confidence because I'm not a match for it. Do you guys know what I mean by this? Or is this something that's, I know this can be a little bit triggering for some of you. I really want you to know I'm not victim blaming here. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm truly, truly not saying this. Okay. But I was a match for that. And I was a match for that because, right, I was a match for that because energetically, that's kind of where I was at. I kind of, that was about where I thought what I thought I was worth. I wouldn't have put it in those terms. I didn't see it in the way at the time, right? I need you to understand that. When I was in the middle of it, I didn't see that. It was when I came out of it. I was so disconnected from myself. I had no relationship with myself. So I wasn't tuned in. I wasn't listening to wisdom. I wasn't listening to the taps on my shoulder. I was operating from fear. Okay. So that was I was operating from. Fear, disconnection, shut down. And so I didn't listen to any of the signs I was getting to help me to go. I wasn't listening to anything. I kept saying to myself, oh, it's okay. I've just got to be more organized. Oh, it's okay. I just have to be calmer. Oh, it's okay. I just have to be more like this. Oh, it's okay. I just have to be less like that. Oh, it's okay. I just have to be. Right? So what was I doing? I was a match for that. I was a match for it. when something bad would happen, I go, oh, that's because I wasn't organized enough. Like he would lose it or get angry. Oh, I should have had dinner ready earlier. Oh, yeah, I know why he's upset. I didn't get all the washing done today the way I said I would, right? Fear, 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 fear. Justifying, 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 justifying. Placating, placating, placating. Absolutely an energetic match for that. Absolutely would never happen in my life now because I'm not a match for it. I know exactly who I am. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm not frightened. I don't have to justify or explain myself to anybody. And I don't have any problem owning where I'm at. So someone like that would not even enter my sphere. Wouldn't be. We are on a completely different energetic level, right? I'm not putting out fear. I'm not putting out any of that. I'm not justifying things to myself. I'm operating a completely different space. And I don't mean to say that I'm better. I'm not fearful. I'm very clear on who I am. And so when I'm clear, it's very easy for me to see straight away, oh, that doesn't work for me, and to call someone out. And so I would. And so in the beginning, if that ever came into my life, because I'm so clear on myself, I'd be like, oh, that's not for me. Yeah, no thanks. Wouldn't even get off the ground. Yeah, we do, Sheila. We do abandon ourselves in a relationship like that. Absolutely. We lose who we are. When I came out of that, I had no idea who I was. I felt like a broken shell. Okay. And, the first thing I did when I came out of that, apart from just kind of getting my feet back on the ground, was I have got to change my relationship with myself. Absolutely. And I'm going to find a better way to help people was the next part. And so here we are many, many, many years later. All right. But you've got to understand everything in life is a lesson for you. It's not your fault. But these things don't happen in a vacuum. But if you don't know where to look for the answer, when you make that mean A equals B, and these are conversations we have a lot in Relatable, A never equals B, ever. Okay? Oh, I'm upset because, or I'm not worth it because this person hurt me, or like this is one of the big things that people realize when they do Relatable. My goodness, Fiona, nothing ever. I thought I'd be more upset about this than I am, and I'm not. I thought I would be angry about that, but I'm not. I always thought that if that happened, I would feel this way, but I don't. It's like, no, you don't, because you've got a completely different understanding of how things work. And so you're not so fearful. So this is why I talk about you have to understand, and I'm really going over time here, but you have to understand the flavor that you bring. You have to understand the energy that you're in. You have to have an understanding of you. That's how you change things like that, because you evolve out of them. You're no longer a match for it. People do something hurtful to you, you're really clear, you know what to speak to, and all of a sudden you carry yourself with conviction and strength. And all of a sudden, people don't do things like that because it's not an energetic match for where they are, right? It just falls off. And when something falls off, you move forward, they're back here. I hope this makes sense. Again, this is why I worry about having some of these conversations, because I feel like I'm going to lose some of you, because I'm now speaking in a level that, and when I say that, I don't mean to be patronizing, but I know that I'm now speaking at a level that if we were relatable, you'd be drawing on the knowledge of all of those things, and this would make a lot more sense. Okay, so this is why I'm mindful when I go into some of these places here, because I think I'm going to lose some of you guys. Anyway, I hope that helps. Oh, you're welcome, Benita. You're really welcome. Hey, Katja. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you. Thank you. Yes. So you've got to understand, you getting your power back, you feeling empowered as you go through difficult times is the best gift you can give yourself. Okay? The best gift you can give yourself. You can go through a situation from a very disempowered place, or you can go through it from an empowered place. You always have that choice, no matter what you're dealing with. Okay? I really do want you to know that. This is very, very important. Now, once you get a sense of that and you experience it in real time, you want more and more of it. And of course, your entire energy changes. And then what you bring into you changes. That's the difference, and that's the key. And that's why this understanding is something you can draw from again and again and again and again and again, no matter what you're dealing with in your life. It's just beautiful. Anyway, everybody, I've now been speaking for nearly 45 minutes, which is a very long time for anybody to listen to me speak. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for your comments and for your engaging with me. I really appreciate it. I will see you here next Friday. If you have a question you want me to answer, please send it to hello@fionalukeis.com.au and just say Friday Live. If you want to know more about my Relatable program, if you want to join Relatable, we'd love to have you. It's an awesome community. We'd love to have you. I'll put a link where you can book a chat with me and you can find out more about it. Relatable's awesome. It's where we have all of these amazing conversations each and every week. I go live with my Relatable students 2 times every week. All right, everyone. Love you lots and lots. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye.